And good morning.
Good
I was
morning.
fighting some technical difficulties behind the scenes, so apologize for the delay there. Welcome, Molly.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me today, Steve. This is awesome.
Well, thank you for coming on short notice and chatting with us this morning about DynamicsCon Live. And do you want to introduce yourself? And I know everyone already knows who you are, but for the three people on the planet who do not know who Molly is, why don't you introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Well, I hope there's always new community members that haven't yet gotten to see my picture or watch a video of me out there. But my name is Molly Fuchsel. I am one of the directors at Dynamics User Group, the company that is hosting the DynamicsCon Live event that we're going to be talking about today. And for those of you that have maybe heard of the event named DynamicsCon, we just completed our third virtual global conference. So if the name is ringing a bell, that's probably how you know it. So thanks again, Steve, for taking time to chat with us today, or with
No
me.
problem. Thank you for coming. And how many people attended DynamicsCon Live? I heard it was a pretty big event. Excuse me, DynamicsCon Virtual. I'm getting confused.
I was like, let me put on my prediction hat and let me
Yes.
tell you, Steve.
Uh,
We had 7,900 registrants for DynamicsCon. Yes, and so obviously attending and in sessions with virtual events, this is no secret to anyone watching
right.
this. People come in and out of their preferred sessions throughout the 4 half days that we offered. So that was really fun to see. And I just have to comment too that we had I think 60% of new people attend, which I think is excellent.
Wow.
And yeah, and I'm starting to really see those new names that registered start to engage and interact with our social channels and just other questions and sending in their questions about upcoming content. And very anxious to see the content on the YouTube channel before we got it up. So that's great. I'm glad that they found us, and I hope that they tell all their Dynamics 365 and GP friends.
That's fantastic. And that's a great point. It's not just about attending the virtual conference and seeing the sessions live, but it's
Right.
also about letting people know that there is this community out there and we're all talking and communicating and we're welcoming people in. So that's a great point.
Yes, absolutely.
And all of the Dynamics Con sessions were recorded and are posted to the Dynamics Con YouTube channel, right?
Yes, they are. So not only did we record them, but we also edited them from a quality control perspective to really make sure that when someone was really diving into a line of code or several lines of code, we zoomed in so you could actually understand and visually see what that looked like. Audio hiccups, some connectivity hiccups, which
Right.
we ironically saw more from our friends in the US where our recording was based than our friends all the way over in Australia or Pakistan. So they had
Yep.
excellent connectivity and bandwidth. So
Wow.
yeah, all the sessions are on YouTube now. We just posted those, I believe, early last week, and I encourage everyone to check them out. And if you didn't attend DynamicsCon virtual, it's still a great place for content across BC, CE, F&O, Dynamics GP, and Power Platform.
Very nice. Very nice. Well, thank you for that review. And let me see if I can figure out this overly complex production studio. And here we go. Well, we have two options because I'm getting extra fancy. We can go vertical
Oh, I
or
like
we can go
this.
horizontal. Look at that. Let's try vertical for this one.
I
So,
like it.
what is DynamicsCon Live? We're familiar with DynamicsCon, this virtual conference that has been free and a fantastic way for us to kind of, have some events in the last, gosh, how long? Over a year now, year and a half. So, what is DynamicsCon Live, and what's the goal here?
Absolutely. Thanks for asking. And I'm so excited to tell everybody about DynamicsCon Live. Our virtual events are amazing. And I think that they are still our best way to grow community, especially for community members, as I mentioned, that are all over the world. So I I love that we build community that way and in various programs for Dynamics User Group. However, in response to what the community has been asking for, we are putting on our first in-person event, which is called DynamicsCon Live. And I just have to say right away that Steve is one of our wonderful Business Central speakers, and we are so lucky to have you, Steve, and so grateful to have you participate in this conference with us. And it's going to be fun. This is, again, something that the community really asked for. And so we are meeting in just, well, less than 3 weeks now, in November 10th and 11th. And we hear the community also saying a big reason that they wanted to get together is, of course, to learn, but to have a lot of fun. So we have a really fun and special social planned for November 10th, the evening of the 10th. And then the 11th is a full day of sessions across the 3 products that you see on the screen there. And then we will end the night of November 11th with an awesome expo social reception. I keep emphasizing the word social because that's what we're really going for. We have it outside in this beautiful Serenity Garden. I've started to post some videos on Twitter, and I'll keep posting more pictures. It's just so picturesque and a fun environment and atmosphere to bring everyone back together. So we definitely have, to answer your question about goals, we of course have content. That's always what drives us to bring us together in this space, but equally it's about bringing the community together to grow stronger, more powerful as Dynamics User Group community. So we're super excited about that. We've got some really fun things planned.
Very cool. And it didn't take much arm twisting to get me to attend, since it is in Anaheim, which is a whopping 20 to 30 minutes away from me. And
Yes.
I hear that this is a pretty nice resort where this is being held.
Yes, it is. So I was just telling Steve before we kicked off this morning that we should point out this is a luxury JW Marriott resort. I snuck away this past weekend to go and take a bunch of videos and pictures of the place, and literally snuck away. I didn't tell John or Jake that I was going until I wanted to surprise them. But and very well received. And so it's gorgeous. It's in a beautiful area, of course. So SoCal is just beautiful by itself. Right off my balcony, the first night I was there, I watched all the Disneyland fireworks because Disneyland is just I say a few steps, probably more than a few steps away. But one thing you don't know until you really are there physically on site that I discovered in my visit was we have this beautiful Serenity Garden that we're having our expo reception in. And you literally walk out these doors of the Serenity Garden, these secured doors, and you're in this beautiful outdoor shopping mall full of restaurants, entertainment shops, things like that. And if you keep walking through that, you're at the Disneyland entrance. So how cool is that?
Well, I was planning on just commuting there, but I may just tell the family I'm out. Like, I'm going to be gone for 2 days. I'm staying in the hotel. Like, I think I'm making a mistake by not just staying there. I'm going to have to reconsider this. I may have to take you up on the offer for the hotel room now that you're explaining this to me. Like, what was I thinking, right?
Well, and actually, is to even Steve, if they're hesitant to have you come, bring them along. I think that's the biggest thing too. Is make sure you bring the family. It's a great spot, and they can hang all day, and there's plenty to do on and right outside of the hotel. So I encourage you to bring them for the couple of days. Personally, make it a long, fun weekend.
We will have to have an important family meeting tonight to discuss this serious matter, right?
It is a serious matter. Disneyland is a serious matter.
Well, and I try to go out and work outside of my home office because, sitting in a box all day does get kind of tiring. So I may have to just take a jaunt down to the JW Marriott some days and check it out and work there. But very cool. So I hear we have some great presenters and great content, and there are 3 tracks. I know only one track matters to my world, right? Because Business Central is the best product in the world. But we have we have Business Central, Dynamics CE, whatever that product is called these days, and we have F&O, similarly, whatever that product is called these days. So I helped to organize the Business Central track, so we'll talk about that. Do you have any stats or anything you'd like to share about the CE and F&O sessions and presenters?
I don't have hard stats for you right
Okay.
now because honestly, I'll tell you that some of our registrants have, to be very honest, some have said, I'm probably coming for this track, but I'm really coming to see
Ah,
community and to
okay.
possibly, a little bit exchange in where they're going. But it's actually from the last time I peeked yesterday, as far as attendance, it's pretty even split amongst the three. I always think, gosh, customer engagement is having so much interaction. We're going to see a lot of customer engagement folks at the
Right.
conference. But then I look and I see this big spike in Business Central attendees signed up. And then I look again and I see, oh, look at F&O, they're coming up quickly. So I think we're going to see a really nice even split of content or of attendee interest. And then I think, again, you tend to see, in my experience with these groups, you tend to see them really just come together, and although they may use a different product, they start to quickly align in different ways or just really have that same dynamics commonality and community unity, I like to call it. So they all are very
Excellent.
friendly very quickly. Yeah.
And so the 11th is a full day of sessions,
Yes.
and we have a BC track, a CE track, and an F&O track. And it is like a 1 day jam-packed conference with serious real content. And the let me just jump over to our Business Central superstars here and
Yes.
look at this lineup. I mean,
Look at
so
these faces.
I helped organize. I just kind of herded everyone to say, hey, what do you I invited a bunch of people to participate in selecting the sessions, and it was actually a challenge because a 1 day conference, it's difficult to choose, okay, how do you choose the 6 or 8 sessions that you're going to present that represents this entire very complex, comprehensive product. And so this great team chose the sessions, and we figured out how are we going to distribute this to cover a lot of different diverse topics, so we're not all technical, not all functional, and not just covering one specific area. And I think they did a great job, and we have a great lineup of speakers, great lineup of sessions. So I'm very excited. And
Yes, and I just want to point out again that we had wonderful planning committees behind DynamicsCon Live. Steve really helped us lead the charge for the BC programming committee, and that's how we have these wonderful faces. I should have given us all the FO and CE faces as well, but just amazing presenters. Most of you will know a lot of these names across all three products, just like the faces you see on the screen here. And Steve's involvement was definitely instrumental in helping us build a really fabulous Business Central agenda for the full day.
well, thank you, and hats off to the speakers and presenters who instantly volunteered. They said, "I am in. I will be in Anaheim.
Yes.
I'm taking the family to Disneyland after the conference," which is a
Yeah.
nice little
Oh,
benefit there.
there
So,
you go, Steve.
yep, yep.
I love
Okay.
it.
Well, in addition, we have some great. I'm focusing on the Business Central sessions. I didn't pull all of the CE and F&O sessions, but for the folks who are interested in BC, this is the lineup. We have 6 individual sessions, and we have 2 panels where all of the presenters will be present to answer questions. So, I mean, configuration packages, Microsoft 365 integrations, reporting, workflow, the kind of sales and the competitive landscape of Business Central functionality, coding, consulting, and implementation. We think we covered it, and the presenters themselves said, "Hey, this is a conference that I would want to attend. I would want to go to these sessions." So that was our goal, and so I think that worked out pretty well.
I think so too. I think this track, just looking at this track as one example of the three, it's a great mixture of content that I think the right people were helping us pick it. And you had those wonderful speakers that immediately rose their hand and volunteered to help execute this variety of topics that is really important and I think crucial to the Business Central crowd. So hats off to all of these presenters for quickly also coming around with these great topics. And then the panel discussions, I think actually are incredibly fitting for what we're really hoping to gain out of this event. Again, it's about fun and networking and just being relaxed and back together again. And I think those panel discussions are going to be very valuable to the people in those rooms. And I hope that everyone takes advantage of these wonderful speakers on stage. I'll say, again, very relaxed environment, but there's so much knowledge across these panels. So I'm excited for the audience to be able to absorb everything from all the sessions, particularly with that opportunity to ask a lot of questions in the panels.
Yes, and the presenters were also interested in having those conversations. Everyone, it's not just, they didn't want to just stand at the front of the room and speak to people.
Right.
They wanted to have that interaction. And so we think the panels will be a great discussion. And this is designed to be a smaller conference. It's not a 2,000 person conference. So it is designed to be smaller, more interactive, more personal, and have the discussion, whether you're new to one of the products and starting to implement it or just looking, or whether you've been working with it for years. It's really your opportunity to speak directly with all of these great presenters.
Love it. And these are, if you have maybe not met a majority of these presenters because you are new to the Dynamics 365 Business Central or the other product space, this is a great opportunity to get to meet them in this intentionally small environment. Like Steve was saying, you'll really be able to have that one-on-one time with them at DynamicsCon Live. And I think this is just setting those new people in particular that are newer to our community and space up for success. So,
and these folks are active on Twitter. They're active on forums. They have blogs. So they welcome it. And they present at other conferences. So feel free to reach out to them. They love the conversation and interaction. So I certainly do as well. So
they're just a fun and friendly group of people.
Yes, look at that. Look at that. So tell me about virtual and live conferences. So you have been working in organizing the user group events and the conferences for many years, right? And then you started to help organize the DynamicsCon virtual conferences, which has entirely different challenges, right?
It sure does.
It's a different world, and it's while you would think the logistics would be similar, it's an entirely different set of problems and things you're needing to solve. So now we're going back to live events, and we're having to transition back to figuring out how to organize those these days. So what's that been like?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, and this is all going to be based on my opinion, of course, and experience doing a good amount of both now, especially with 2020. So organizing, it's funny because people used to ask me about a year ago when we were still in pandemic time after going through almost all of 2020, wasn't it so much easier to plan a virtual conference? You just had to show up. And my immediate response was always, well, I hope that the attendees just had to show up, but we had a lot more to do. And it's all what you put into it, just like any in-person event. Our virtual conferences, we set out from the very beginning to offer a really good community welcoming feel because our Dynamics user group really was launching at that point and getting out there in the space. And so when we organized the conference, a big part of that was the experience we were putting forth for the community members. So I think organizing is, both are equal, I would say, in work and effort, and it really comes down to, we all want to have the best conference with every element and every possible offering, but there's costs and things like that. So you have to pick what's the most important for your audience and what's the most important to our community members. And so we've really navigated with the help of our wonderful advisory committee, which Steve is also a member of, and we're thankful for him and the other committee members who help guide us in those decisions, but just listening to what the community wants to see at conferences. So every conference we do is different, and I hope that no two conferences in a row or at all are ever the same, because that means that we've stopped listening a little bit, and that would concern me. So as soon as you get really good at delivering a virtual conference this way in September of 2020. Well, we're going to do it that way in March of 2021, kind of thing. It's just evolving, and so they'll always have newness to them because we're getting, hopefully, we're getting more efficient at our process, and we have a wonderful team that helps us both with the virtual conferences and with the in-person conference that we have coming up. So just having those right teammates and members really helps us execute well. And I like the registrations piece. So funny about registration. And I think we're learning a lot of lessons as a team. When it's in person, that involves some thought, right? That involves some movement of your schedule, some T&E expense, so on and so forth, and just making sure that it's a good fit for each attendee. So that's one thing. Whereas virtual, we very intentionally, even with our last conference, went to half days because we knew that people are still living their work life. They're still living their personal life. And because we serve a global audience, it might be 6 a.m. starting for Steve, but it might be 7 p.m. starting for our friends in Australia. So it's that balance of understanding what their needs are. And so we see tons of people sign up right away for our virtual event. It's, you can commit when it fits into your schedule. But in-person events have not changed. That still involves schedule and planning and, again, T&E. So you definitely see registrations shift as far as you can immediately know you're going to be there kind of on and off for a virtual, and then you're going to need to plan a little bit more for an in-person. And I love how you have venues on here. So I think, Steve, you kind of wanted to ask a little bit about our location that we chose.
Yes, I think Anaheim's a great choice, but I think that many conferences. My impression is that conferences tend to try to choose things in the middle of the country or often in Eastern, because in my experience, many of the ERP customers are middle to Eastern half of the United States. And so I'm curious how you chose Anaheim and the JW Marriott. Excellent choice, by the way. I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. So we definitely were on your same thought process and path, Steve, and do we do central US with our team mainly in the US? We of course then wanted to do something that we knew with just with the way COVID is and everything, that we could still go to and work easily with the venue and the team that we have on site. So when we chose the venue, we actually were looking quite heavily at East and West Coast. And which one did we want to go towards? And we did end up settling on the West Coast after discussing it with our advisory committee and polling the community. And it seemed like the West Coast was a better fit. And of course, we'll always, and we still will all the way through our conference next month, have COVID as an outlier, right? That'll be something that'll still continue to weigh on all of our decisions. And we say that proudly because safety is first for us. So it definitely weighed in on our decision of where we chose to go. But after those conversations with the city of Anaheim and the JW Marriott, we just felt really comfortable with moving forward that direction. And the JW Marriott, I actually was not as familiar with. It is a newer location. John Stipula, our president, was more familiar with this particular location, and he said, let's go check this out in person, and he was blown away. And I have to say, it is taking an in-person conference that I've normally seen for this community and really bringing it to the next level. It's just a really special location, really nice. That does not imply that everyone needs to wear their best business casual attire. Wear whatever you want. Wear a cape because you're a superhero. We welcome all of that. We want everyone to be as comfortable as possible, but it's just the atmosphere is nice and fun, and that was really our whole intention with the conference in person.
It looks gorgeous. It looks like a very nice resort, and
Yes.
definitely an upgrade from a convention center theme, right? So.
It is, especially to
Very
host
nice.
a more intimate group. It just seemed really special.
Yeah, and I can attest on the organization registration on the virtual. Before DynamicsCon got started, some colleagues and I looked into having our own small Business Central specific online conference. And back in 2020, there were not many solutions to help make that happen. There were things
Correct.
for webinars, sales oriented,
Yes.
marketing oriented webinars, and there were online platforms to help with physical conferences, but there
Right.
were very few platforms that could host an entire online conference at the time. And so I know
Yes.
the DynamicsCon team had to create your website from scratch. You
Yes.
had to code that, and that I was blown away. I was like, okay, I would have never gone to that level of effort, plus all the voting, the session submissions. I mean, it was a huge effort to make that happen, and that's independent of the online streaming videos, the platform, and the actual conference event.
Yes. And we did it all in 3.5 months. And I do like to share that with
Yeah.
people because just like an in-person event, you generally would start planning a year in advance to execute something similar. And I was just amazed that we were able to do that. And I didn't know how much detail we had time to go into, but Steve shared really great detail. And our very first conference, we actually streamed right on the event website. We've since moved to Brella, which we used for the past two events. To Steve's point, just a lot more platforms were available once we got closer to concluding 2021, but you had to know where to look for them. And quite honestly, even event platforms at the time, just like Zoom and Teams, had these 300-person viewer limits and things like
Yeah.
that in participation. And so we certainly didn't ever want a platform to not let everyone in, because that was the whole motion of that, was letting all community members in and allowing everyone to watch it for free. So, but yes, it was really magical how it came together. And I think the community hopefully felt the same way that you kind of did, Steve. The end product was pretty exciting, and it allowed us to keep going.
Absolutely, and hats off to you and the team for pulling it off. I know it was a huge effort, and I only saw a small portion of it. But after when I
Sure.
looked at the platforms, I thought there just isn't anything out there. And the fact that you were able to build it and organize it, and it was a huge success. And now DynamicsCon is it's a well-known conference, and thousands have now attended. So congratulations and thank you
Oh,
for making that happen.
oh, thank you. It's exciting to start getting we start getting questioned by fellow community members that want to host their own virtual or in-person events. They've started coming to us saying, "Do you know your dates? Because we don't want to compete." And and it's like, wow, really?
Yep,
That's
that's
so nice.
flattery.
I mean,
Yep,
that's so flattering. And
yep,
I just and we always our stance is that we always want people to come to us. We want that to be an open communication. We never want that to be a closed door situation. It's always about working together because we're serving the same community after all. So I just love it. It's been exciting, and it's so exciting to move into in person as well.
very cool. Well, we have presenters who jumped at the opportunity to present at the DynamicsCon Live conference. So that kind of solved itself pretty well. And
Yes.
we were able to quickly, the three tracks and the organizers and the committees, shall we say, quickly pulled together agendas and sessions and content. And we're all
Yes.
raring to go. And we're all looking forward to meet up in Anaheim in a couple weeks.
Yes, absolutely. And again, to Steve's point, it was very telling when we had so many people raise their hand as a presenter and say, "I want to participate in this. I want to volunteer for this. I will make time for this." Because all of our presenters are very busy, just like Steve, and that took a lot of coordinating on their schedule. And we certainly planned our in-person event with a shorter runway as well. And so we're so fortunate to have people move their schedules around for us. And again, we really do have a stellar lineup on our agenda. So I encourage everyone to check it out, live.dynamicscon.com. Check out the website. Steve and I'm volunteering you again, Steve, for more things. We'd be happy to answer questions about the event.
No
But
problem.
yeah, so
And
excited.
we actually have some chat activity going on. We have Waldo and Eric Hogard in the chat, chatting back and forth. So hello, folks. And Eric says he's going to go with a T-shirt at the resort, but he will
Fabulous.
wear pants for our benefit.
Oh,
So
thank you. Thank you. I don't know if the Marriott stances, but I mean, I just tell everybody wear what makes you feel
Uh,
comfortable.
yep. I mean, flip-flops and a sarong. I mean, that would be an interesting look for you guys. So there you go. Well, thank you very much, Molly, for joining me this morning to talk about DynamicsCon Live. I'm looking forward to it, and to anyone watching, jump on a plane, head on over to Anaheim, stay at the beautiful JW Marriott Resort, and come visit us. And as a side note, you get to see some great content on the Dynamics platform.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you again, Steve, for the time today. And Steve and I, like you said, are very excited to see everybody in Anaheim in 3 weeks. So book your tickets now. And oh, if anyone needs a discount code, Steve, we'll hook them up.
Yes, hit up Molly or me on Twitter if you're interested in a last minute discount code for your registration. Happy to make that happen. So excellent.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, Molly, and
Yeah,
we will
thank you.
talk soon. Okay.
Bye.